Imagine this situation. You are in a church and you make this following question. Who here has felt any feeling related to happiness in the last 6 months? I bet a good number of people will raise their hands in approval and even share a funny story about something that happened to them. But if you ask the following question, how many of you confess in public that you felt jealous of your brother who's beside you? I bet a lot of people would just lower their hands, and even if they felt envious about the brand new car that his classmates received from his rich father, or the fact that their cousin got accepted in a better college, or maybe they even felt envious about the pretty new girlfriend of their best friend, they will not have the courage to raise their hand and share their story. However, we all know that every human being feels enviness, and it's behind enviness that resides at the heart of Adolf Hitler. Warren Buffett says that it's not greed that drives the world but enviness. And when you take a look at history, even one of the most civilized and educated nations of all time, the land of Schopenhauer, Einstein, Beethoven and Nietzsche, which was Germany in the early 1900s, could not hold themselves back in letting this feeling get the best of them. And what does it have to do with Hitler then? Well, Einstein said that the greatest weakness of democracies is economic fear. And when you look at Germany in the beginning of the 19th century, two things happened that brought the rise of Hitler: the inflation of Weimar and the crash of 29. As Charlie Munger says,
what brought in Hitler was the combination of the Weimar inflation, where they utterly destroyed the savings of the middle class in Germany, followed by the Great Depression. It was a 1-2 punch. And Hitler came in, crazy demagogue, with 40% of the votes, and pretty soon we had a dictator hell-bent for world war. So the history is not pleasant. And Germany was a very advanced and civilized nation, the Germany that Hitler took over. I always say that the interesting thing about that was little Albert Einstein, a little Jewish boy, got his entire primary education with the insistence of the Catholic Church in Germany. Now that is a very civilized nation. So if you let your nation deteriorate too much, what you get is a Hitler. We proved it.
As explained earlier, we normally have tendencies to look at the more favored people with enviness, but overall we tend to hold those feelings back when things are okay and not make much of a deal about it. But when things get tough financially, it's when we usually look at the ones in a better position with a bit more anger and enviness than we normally do, because we match this feeling with another very detrimental emotion, which is self-pity, as now you have to sell your bike while your Jewish neighbor is still driving a nice Ford T, and you can't help but to feel like the victim. As Friedrich Nietzsche would say, nothing burns one up faster than the effects of resentment. You probably have heard at some point of your life that the Jewish people are rich, or that the industries are owned by the Jewish. Just type it on YouTube and you will see dozens of videos backing this up. And I think it's convenient to bring up that the Rothschilds, for example, which is known as one of the most wealthy families of all time, were a family of Ashkenazi Jewish based in Frankfurt, Germany. So the anti-Semitism feeling that grew stronger in the average German in the early 19th century, and was the reason why Hitler got elected with 40% of the votes, was nothing but the intensity of this lower nature feeling consuming a big part of the population. Pay attention to yourself. How hard sometimes is to make yourself feel happy or even sad, but how fast feelings of shame and mistreat take over our humor. So Hitler was the means that allowed the population to express their dark side at that time, and I think Einstein was the one who put the best description of him. Hitler appeared a man with limited intellectual abilities and unfit for any useful work, bursting with envy and bitterness against all whom circumstance and nature had favored over him. He picked up this human flotsam on the streets and in the taverns and organized them around himself. This is the way he launched his political career. And when we look at modern days, we see economic recession, high inflation, the growth of unemployment, and coincidentally, the rise of prejudices against one another once again. And modern politicians, who are just like the ones in the past, are the best manipulators of enviness and fear on the average man, because they know how those lower feelings consume people easier and faster than anything else. Can you see how if you are on the right side of the coin, they will preach about the dangers of socialism and how you're gonna lose your business, your car, your house, and how meritocracy will be exterminated if the other side wins. It's all fear manipulation. But no differently, on the other side of the coin, there's nobody who can make you feel more like a victim than a politician who tells you how mistreated you are and how he's gonna be the one to tax the rich and feed the poor. Not that this type of people really care about the less favored and that the problem of the world is the existence of the rich, as their dream is to win the lottery and become rich themselves, but their driving force is actually enviness of those who have what they wish they had. At the end of the day, the demagogues from both sides are only giving people a means to express their lower quality feelings, just like Hitler did in the past, and Friedrich Nietzsche wrote some really good quotes about it. I am opposed to parliamentary government and the power of the press, because they are the means whereby cattle becomes masters. For fanaticism is the only form of willpower that even the weak and insecure can be brought to attain. A politician divides mankind into two classes, tools and enemies. The rise of Hitler explained a lot to us about how the human mind operates and how little we know about the dark forces that sometimes are guiding our decisions. And just like the people at the church, we tend to just pretend we don't have them, and for that reason we let them run free in the dark side of us without even realizing that. Also, it shows us how important it is to treat the economy of any country seriously, because when the hardships get more intense, so do our lower quality feelings, which gives the right conditions to the rise of demagogues such as Hitler, and this is a fact that is surviving the test of time. Hitler is living, or shall I say, sitting on the empty stomach of Germany. As soon as economic conditions improve, Hitler will sink into oblivion.